meeting that. That's where I came from.
As far as I'm concerned, first of all,
My
name's Ben.
No, I'm not going to shake the hand of the Hitler Youth. I'm sorry.
Sir, as a Jew, I'm not really sure how I should take that.
I'll tell you how you should take it.
How should I take that? My
it
grandparents who escaped the Nazis.
Now, if you look, for instance, at what is about to happen, which is the Agenda 21 conference at Rio de Janeiro on the 20th anniversary of the Earth Summit, which launched the whole ghastly process of the global warming scare and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now they're having a big self-congratulatory, there they will be, and they will be deciding, as they have been trying to decide for the last 20 years, that what we need to do is to shut down the West. That's how you can tell that this is essentially the communist agenda all over again. It was they who founded, funded and animated the campaign for nuclear disarmament, which was nothing to do with nuclear weapons really. It was to try and turn us off the idea of developing the peaceful uses of nuclear power. So that with the unions having prevented us to using our coal for fossil fuel, they would then also shut down the possibility of developing nuclear power, and we would simply run out of energy and be reduced to exactly the same collapsed economic state which they had so gloriously already achieved. What is happening now is that the extreme legalists, or the extreme left, or whatever label you want to put, they have grown tired of democracy. It was once seen by some of them as a good thing. Now they see it as poison. And whatever other benefits may come of this, the loss of democracy in Europe is now near total. And it is European advisors who are telling the UN's Framework Convention on Climate Change how to use exactly the same techniques of annual agreements. They can't call them treaties because the US Senate, thank goodness, went past them, so as to transfer power inexorably away from free nations such as Canada towards the new centralist dictatorship, worldwide this time, with no chance of competition or extinction, that they wish to create.
Because they want to have, effectively, global government. Now, they know if one talks of world government, this is something that will be very unpopular. So instead of calling it world government, they call it global governance. This is the new phrase for it, which somehow sounds nice and respectable and not too dangerous. But, of course, what they're really after is total control. And they're going to do roughly what was done to us as we lost our powers in Britain to the EU. And yet at the end of the process, you suddenly find you've lost your nation, you've lost your democracy, you've lost your parliament. We still have one, we still have elections, but they mean nothing. 5/6 of our laws being made by someone else. And the UN has seen this and has very jealously thought to itself, well, if the EU can do it on a regional scale, why don't we try the same approach on a global scale? Greenpeace has nothing to do with the environment these days. That's just the fig leaf. You know, it's a green fig leaf over a red instrument beneath, shall we say, which is intended to do things to us which will be very unpleasant and uncomfortable. Right. The poorer countries of Africa, they have no vote, they don't have proper democracy, they don't have a voice, these people. We can send in the UN troops and shoot them dead and take their land in the name of making it into a carbon sink and kicking them all off it. And nobody will really know or care very much, because these are little people that really ought not to exist in the first place. It's this contempt, racialistic in the worst sense.
Oh, absolutely.
For those who are poorer than they and who don't have a voice or a vote. And so some of them would like to see the whole of humanity, sometimes with the sole exception of themselves, wiped off the face of the planet. This agenda of real hatred for humanity, and in particular real hatred for the West, this combination is very, very dangerous and very, very real and virtually not talked about. Because, hey, if you say these people have actually gone round saying, some of them, that they want to wipe out 6 humans in 7, you're regarded as some kind of extremist lunatic. But that is what these people are saying, some of them. reduction of carbon dioxide concentration from 400 as it is now to 200 parts per million by volume in the atmosphere, halving it. That would lead to the mass death of plants and trees worldwide and of the animals and humans that live depend upon them. And what Hansen was really saying is that people like me should be killed. As the Bible says, I forget exactly where, but if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall go forth to battle? And here on this program, you give forth a certain and very definite sound. And if people find that deafening, so they should.
As you know, they don't care if it cools, if it warms. That's an absolute value pretext for their absolute control model.
Well, that's very nicely put. Yes, I like that. That's a neat turn of phrase.
There's clearly a link in that the president is very much from the hard left. I never thought to see such a man elected to office in the United States. When I gave a press conference at the Willard Hotel shortly after he was elected, I described him quite openly as a communist. I think there is a general agreement that Obama is about as far to the left as you can go without being Fidel Castro. He's very extreme. And it is also notable, surely, that those who argue most vigorously and persistently and venomously in favour of the more extreme position on how terrible climate change is going to be are also from the hard left, this time the environmental hard left. So clearly you have the hard left in the White House, you have the hard left pursuing the so-called green agenda, which is really the red agenda. And the connection between the two is therefore very strong, and the methods that they use to try to shut down dissent are the same. And then you've got the same with the climate thing, where again the hard left wants this because it's a great way of utterly destroying the United States in particular and the West in general, taking apart our economies from within without a shot being fired.
They now realise that this is a grab for absolute power by the UN and by the environmental movement, which is, of course, where all the Marxists went when the Berlin Wall came down. They had nowhere else to go. So they piled into the environmental movement. And what Hansen was really saying is that people like me should be killed.